Welcome again to the old principal. 我就是老校长，这是老校长英文节目。This is the old principal's English program. I either tell a story about my life or I tell a story about anything under the sun. 普天下 It could be anything. Well, this will be lesson number 258. Times have changed. The times have changed. If you look at this picture, maybe it's not too good of a picture. In this picture, you see 我的大学这个宿舍. Okay, I thought that would be interesting. It's a very old building, but still quite a good-sized one. Before we begin, let's let Connie read to us the story, and then we begin.
Story 258. Times have changed. The following is a collage of thoughts about education as it now is and as it once was. Some changes are subtle. Some changes are stunning. For instance, back then, student dormitory rooms had no telephones. Today, every student has his own mobile phone. Back in my era, I wrote out my papers and then hired some capable person to type them out for me. Nowadays, some students still hire typists, but by far the largest share of the students have their own computers and printers. Or, if they don't, they at least know how to use the computers and printers that the colleges provide for student use. In our era, freshman students were not allowed to have a personal car. Nowadays, most students have their own cars, no matter what year in college they are. Any student can attend college if he wants to. The only problem nowadays is the high cost of college education. Once upon a time, public colleges were the cheapest, and they still are. But the gap between private school tuition and public school tuition has diminished. Most students borrow money to finance their college education. It is not easy to attend 4 years of college and come out debt-free. In our college, I remember a quaint custom that occurred on Saturday night at 10:30 p.m. After the evening's activities, many of the young men had escorted their girlfriends back to the dormitory. But instead of saying goodbye immediately, they lingered in the dormitory lobby talking. But at 10:30, some sort of signal had to be given for the young men to depart. To avoid confrontation, the initial cue was the playing of a very fitting traditional song. Good night, ladies. Good night, gentlemen. Good night, everyone. We're going to leave you now. Merrily we roll along, roll along, roll along. Merrily we roll along o'er the deep blue sea.
Welcome back. The following is a collage of thoughts about education as it now is and as it once was. Because I am the old principal, I come from a long, long time ago. So now, here is a collage. If you say collage, I think that's French, but maybe not. A collection, 零零碎碎的一些思想, okay? Thoughts about education. 关于什么题目呢? Education as it once was and as it is now. So this is some of just my thoughts about the changes that have happened in education. Now, some changes are subtle. Okay, some changes are stunning. Okay, first of all, some changes are subtle. What does that mean? First of all, notice it says here, some changes are subtle and some changes are stunning. They are opposites. 两个都是相反. Now, subtle means quiet. And they're changes, but they are slow and they're quiet. And 人们没有不知不觉啊. Maybe that's a good way. They don't even realize that they're changing. These are subtle changes. Good word, subtle. But we don't pronounce the B, it's subtle. Okay, if subtle means quiet and 不知不觉有变化, then a stunning change is 蛮厉害的. It's a big change and it's very clear and open. Okay, so you have these two different changes in education, 在教育上. Okay, going on. For instance, back then, the student dormitory rooms had no telephones. Can you imagine that? This is hard to believe. That 宿舍的房间, no telephones at all. Nowadays, people have 手机. We have these hand phones, mobile phones, cell phones. We call them several. Okay, but in those days, there wasn't even landline. 有线的也没有. No telephones. Today, every student has his own mobile telephone. Well, almost every student. I imagine the very poorest ones still don't. But almost everybody can afford that now. Back in my era, 我的时代, I wrote out my papers. I remember that sometimes I would take a sheet of paper like this, and I would take 1, 2, 3, 4, and I would take what do you call it? Scotch tape, some kind of tape, 有一种胶纸, and I would tape them all together. And sometimes this thing was 15, 20 feet long. Okay, maybe 5, 6, 7公尺这么长. And that was, I was writing. And then if I wanted to add something, I took a pair of scissors and I cut it. And then I wrote something else, 加进去. So this is how I wrote back then. I wrote out my papers. 用手写的. Then I hired, 我是雇用, hired, a capable person, 很有能干的 person to type them out for me. Okay, so what I would do is I would roll it up. Okay, I roll up this 26 feet of paper. I roll it up, and then I would give it to the typist. A typist 是一个专门会打字的一个人. I remember one time I was the vice president of the school secretary. 他的这个副院长的秘书 whatever. And she was a good typist. She typed very, very fast. So I hired some capable, and she was very capable, 很能干的 person to type this all out for me. Going on. Nowadays, some students still hire typists. So some students cannot type. But nowadays, by far the largest, 大部分的学生, the largest share of students have their own computers and their own printers. 有自己的电脑，自己的打印机啊。So times have changed. That's the name, that's the title we gave of this. 时代就变了。Going on. Or if they don't, at least they know how to use the computers. If they don't have a typewriter or a typist, at least they know how to use the computers and printers that the colleges provide. So the universities, the colleges, 大学有提供, okay, print computers and printers, even if they don't have computers. So everybody, I think nowadays, everybody knows how to use computers. Going on. In our era, freshman students were not allowed to have a personal car. Can you imagine that? Well, this is hard to imagine. 我们的时代, freshman students, that's a 大一年级, right? Freshman, sophomore, junior, senior. Freshman students, only the first year, they could not have 个人的汽车, their own personal car. Could not have. That was not allowed. But times have changed. 时代就变了. Going on. Nowadays, 现代, most students have their own cars. When I say most students, 一般以上, I'm sure, have their own car, 自己的汽车, no matter what year in college they are, even freshmen, sophomores, juniors, seniors, any year, 不分年龄, okay, it's just the most common thing in America. Now, maybe in China, no. Maybe it's not very common. But in America, lots of students have their own vehicles, their cars. Going on. Any student can attend college he wants to. Now that's another big thing. You know, you think about this. In the Far East, 这个远东地区啊, where we live here, it's hard to get into colleges. It is not so easy to get into colleges. 那个入学考试是很难的, okay? So it's hard to get into the colleges. Now, in America, any student can attend college if he wants to. If you want to go to college, 你要上大学, you can do it, no matter who you are. The only problem nowadays is that university costs a lot of money. 你要上大学的时候, see, 唯一的困难 nowadays is the high cost of college education. 大学教育花费 cost, 这个花费 is very high, very expensive. Once upon a time, sounds like a story, doesn't it? Once upon a time, public colleges were the cheapest, and they still are. Once upon a, 这个很久很久以前, see, don't we usually tell stories? A good story starts like this. Once upon a time, a long time ago, dun, 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 dun. Okay, so in this case, once upon a time, a long time ago, public colleges, 公立学校, okay, were the cheapest, 是最便宜的, and they still are. They're still the cheapest. But, going on, the gap between private school tuition and public school tuition has diminished. Couple words in here that you need to know. The gap between, okay, the gap between, 这个差距, okay, between what? 在 private school 私立班的学费 and public school 私立班的公立的一个学费 So you have private 私立班的学校公立班的学校他们的 tuition 的差距 has diminished. It's getting closer and closer. I think private schools will still always be the most expensive because they don't have the financial power of the public schools. Nevertheless, I could tell you that when we went to private school, I went to a private school, 私立班的大学, okay, and everybody complained, oh, it's so expensive. It's true. It is true. But there's some things about that I liked better than public schools. So there you have it. Most students borrow money to finance their college education. Most students borrow money to finance their college education. Okay? What does that mean? They borrow money, 他们借钱 Okay? 支付他们大学教育 Okay? So, the money they pay is borrowed money. Okay? It is not easy to attend 4 years of college and come out debt-free. Okay? It is not easy to attend 读4年的大学而出来的时候没有欠债 Almost everyone, when they finish college, they owe money. Now, this is very interesting because my two sons, when they went to undergraduate 4年大学 and 研究所2年, when they came out, they had no debt, 没有欠债 but that is an exception. 也是相当难的 because most people have a debt. Going on. In our college, I remember a quaint custom. Now, maybe I'll tell a little bit more about the differences in education if I have time. But I'm going to finish up with one thing that I think is quite unique. Our college, I remember a quaint. Now, quaint. Quaint sometimes gives the idea of 可爱，也是奇怪。So, 一边是可爱，一边是奇怪。So what it is, it's still strange. It's a strange custom. But if you say strange, then it's 奇怪. If you say quaint, it's 有一点点可爱的奇怪. Does that make sense? Woo. Anyway, this is just the way English is. A quaint custom, 一个传统 quaint custom that occurred Saturday night at 10:30 p.m. Every Saturday night at 10:30 p.m. 就发生这件事情。He said, "Huh? Excuse me? What happens every Saturday night at 10:30?" Let's go on. After the evening's activities, okay, after the evening's activities, this is Saturday night, 星期六晚上, okay? After the Saturday night activities, 这个活动结束之后, many of the, I wouldn't say many, should be all of the young men, almost 100% of the young men had escorted their girlfriends back to the dormitory. Now, there are a couple words here. 活动, okay? Many of the young men had escort. Okay? Escort means to 陪伴也是 what would it say 送 but it means you takes somebody somewhere. To escort them means that you go with them. In this case, the young men escort or take the young ladies back to the dormitory. Okay? Now, once they get to the dormitory, then what do? Going on. But instead of saying goodbye, okay, so instead of saying goodbye, they immediately they lingered in the dormitory doing what? They were lingering in the dormitory to keep talking. Now, this is natural, right? It's natural that boys and the girls want to keep talking. Talk. So they want to keep talking as long as they could. So instead of saying goodbye, 他们不说谢谢啊，他不道别, okay? They immediately, they started talking. They lingered. What does it mean to linger? To linger is to 留下来. Okay? In other words, if a person is lingering behind, means that they are staying behind. Now, if they were in the dormitory lobby, 大厅, okay, and they're in this lobby and they are lingering, that means they don't say goodbye, they stay right there, can keep on talking. But at 10:30, some sort of signal, 必须有一种信号还是暗号, okay? Maybe 信号. Some sort of signal had to be given for the young men to depart. Somehow at 10:30, the young men and 这个男同学, they need to know it's 10:30, it's time to go. Okay, so what signal? 什么信号? How is the dormitory dean going to tell them that it's time for them to go? Okay, going on. To avoid confrontation, of course, we want to avoid confrontation. 避免冲突. okay, confrontation, the initial cue, okay, 这个头一个暗示 okay, cue is 暗示 the initial 头一个暗示 was the playing of a very fitting traditional song. 他们就放出来一个非常传统的也是非常恰当的一首歌 and I'm going to share that song with you as we finish up, okay? So here's the way it is. Now I hope that they keep up with me because I'm going to go fast, then maybe we can come back. Good night, ladies. Good night, gentlemen. Good night, everyone. We're going to leave you now. And then it continues, going on. Merrily we roll along, roll along, roll along. Merrily we roll along o'er the deep blue sea. Okay, when we heard that music playing, we knew that it was time to go. No reason to argue. We had to say goodbye and we had to walk out the door. So there you have it. Merrily we roll along o'er the deep blue sea. 在大海上我们要走. Well, actually, I don't think we had to go across the ocean, but anyway, that was the way the song goes. And we are going to have to say goodbye, ladies. Goodbye, gentlemen. But you can write an email letter to us. Our email address is theoldprinciple@gmail.com. And our website, 我们的网站是 www.theoldprinciple.org. Hey, it's been great to be with you and share with you how times have changed. I hope to see you next time when we come back to another session with the Old Principle. Until then, bye-bye.